So today was a seventh grade day, and so I had two kiddos show up, Zanaya and Celicia, who wanted to participate. Abby Peralta, who's one of my managers, brought them in. Normally, we had a testing schedule today, and so we were bare bones. I should probably, in reflection, should have just let them stand in the corner, but they were going to be testing, and so under normal circumstances, I would have immediately brought them in and tried to put them to work, doing something that they felt comfortable doing. And that's just how you grow your team. Um, because the way that I set it up is that if you're going to be a part of WBMS on like a seventh grade day, you come to the studio as soon as you get to school. And so there are kids for whom that's too big of an ask. They want to hang out in the cafeteria for 10 minutes. And not come down at 9:01 after we started, and I draw the line there. It just creates too much chaos. Kids coming down as we are like running the broadcast. But so then today was a seventh grade day. Tomorrow will be an eighth grade day, then a sixth grade day, seventh grade, and so forth and so on. Managers stay the course, and I will also use the managers to train the other kids. So I've got kids who are ninja on the tricaster, or we call it the brain, or the soundboard, or the camera, or whatever. And the managers are really good. I'm like, hey, can you teach this young sixth grader how to do the soundboard? And they're usually really good about it. And so that's how that works. One of the things I try to do is, as I had said earlier, is, and I say this to the kids, it's like our number one goal is we had to deliver the news. Like, this is a service to the school. We're professional. Number two thing is we gotta have fun. And so now, hang on, I forgot where I was gonna go with that. I tell them, for example, if you make a mistake, this isn't 60 minutes. And if you make a mistake, the more attention that you draw to the mistake, the more people are going to attend to the mistake. Just go back through it. I tease them and say to them, I was like, well, what the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to yell at you, I'm going to pull your hair, I'm going to bite you with a nice sharp tooth. And then they laugh and calm down. And I'm like, look, just go for it. I tell the people who are running the TriCaster, look, I'd rather you take 3 extra seconds and do the transition correctly than be like, and hit the wrong button. And so it's better, like we have this happen all the time, is so when the principals come down, it's called Between Two Aloe Plants. And they're dealing with, there's a whole backstory to that joke. They're dealing with the exigencies of the beginning of the school day. And I'm trying to start the news at 9 o'clock because I got teachers who are on my case about instructional minutes, and I can't start rolling the news at 9:10. And so the principals won't be down here. So that's another thing that I'll do with the managers. I'll send them as emissaries to run and find Dr. Blunt or Mr. Combs. And so what I'll do is, like, I've had like technical difficulty slides, but what I've been doing now is just telling the anchors, just smile and wave. And they've started doing like little dances and stuff, like while we're waiting 10 seconds and with dead air for Dr. Blunt to get to the studio from the cafeteria. And so anyway, I think that's it. Like,
what were some of the challenges you found switching from the old system to the new one?
The liability of newness, like I mean, the tech is amazing. So the tech all works. Like, it's all brand new. It's glorious. Some of the challenges, like feng shui of the camera outside. So there is, I'm not sure what the cable is. It's the hard wire to the network. What's that cable called?
Oh, yeah.
Like that input.
The Ethernet cable.
So the new cameras run on Ethernet cables rather than just the old coax that was going. And so that cable has a whole different texture. And so anyway, like the sound cable is this like thick cable that just lays on the floor. The Ethernet cable like just bows up. And so I've had to create a whole new protocol where in the morning, I lay it out and I had to get a little rug to lay it down on it because otherwise people would have tripped and ripped the Ethernet cable out of the camera 6 times this morning. And then I trained two outdoor, I gave specific tasks. I have two managers that are only responsible for the camera too, to unplug the Ethernet cable, roll the cable. I had to train them to roll the Ethernet cable up and tuck it behind this bench, unplug, because I can't close the door. That's what's so crazy is like I can't have the cables out there and then close the door. So like even with the tape, so we have a special roll up cable protocol and roll up the rug protocol, and so that was one thing. The aforementioned sound has been the biggest challenge. One thing that the new, like just figuring out the sound in real time, because there are 4 different ways to adjust like the basal level of the sound. The TriCaster has a digital soundboard. You have the soundboard itself, for which you have all the sliders, but you can set each individual channel at a certain level. And so that's what I was doing when I thought that things were too quiet, is like I had dialed up like the gain, I think. Again, like I Googled some of this, but like, anyway, the soundboard looks like it fell off Taylor Swift's truck. And like she could be using that like tonight. And that's wonderful. Like that's authentic and real. But like I am not a sound technician. So I just found out there's a lot of trial and error, and you can edit this part out. But like when I found out that, I don't know if I told you this, like I found out that the graphics computer that I was playing Pandora had a short in the headphone jack. I thought it was the cord. And so when I switched the cord, before I was playing around with the digital equalizer for channel 4 to try and make Pandora sound right. When in reality, there was a short in the computer. And so, anyway, I'm doing that because, like, I don't know. So what's the challenge? I'm the TDRT. So, tomorrow I have a first block class that I'm teaching as like a substitute. And so I have to arrange, like, as a TDRT, I typically don't have, like, kids with me other than the studio kids. Like, I don't have, like, a first block class that has to be supervised. So that would be a very difficult thing for, like, if you were just a teacher in the building who taught math and you just like doing the studio, or you got assigned the studio, that's a challenge. Going back to your being responsive to your question, I was comfortable, like, looking back at it. I mean, you saw when we were doing the tech, I'm comfortable pushing buttons and seeing if that does it. And so not everybody has that. I don't know. It's like explorer's spirit, and so, like,
I know a common problem has been the green screen for a couple schools, trying to get that set up.
So,
what's your?
And so, you were there, Alfred. You were right there with me when we sat down and we were fumbling around with that. And do you remember when we thought that so the protocol, when I understood, when you looked at the manual and explained to me what, like, the click fade, and I thought it was going to be a button that said fade as opposed to like a graphic that symbolized fade. Once I figured out what that was, the protocols in the manual worked. But even we had all that trouble because when what we were doing is we were looking at input 1 rather than input M/E1, which was the green screen button, rather than input 1 is just the raw camera.
Yeah.
And so, dude, that was 25 minutes of us being like, why is this not working? And so that's the kind of thing where, so that was a challenge. But we navigated it because we sat down and, I mean, how long were you, Kenny and I, and we put a couple hours in.
Yeah, because we had the live stream issue. That was another piece.
Right.
And then getting the output from the laptop was a thing that I wasn't sure what all parts were in there.
Right. What I would say is like, if an individual teacher is having trouble with the green screen, what I would do is you just have to have somebody like me or somebody with facility to come in and do it and just run the raw run the raw camera. Like, again, it's not 60 minutes. Like, and so if your number one goal is to get the information out, again, as much as I appreciate, again, like I have a whole graphics program that we put behind the anchors, and have taught kids how to swap out that input in the green screen so that when we're showing a video on the graphics computer, the audience doesn't see the kid on the graphics computer switching windows, minimizing, like they don't see any of the like clicking, so that we just transition smoothly. And we put a still from like GFX1. And so, but that's just where I am on the curve. Um, uh, Other issue, like I said, sound was the biggest one. The green screen this year is so much easier, or the quality of the cameras is so much better than what I was dealing with. Like that lamp that's in there, that little bald naked lamp that's in there. Like, I don't even think I need to use that. But that's a vestige of last year because I had the lights. I think the cameras are of such quality that I'm not even using the cosmetic, like the whole light tower thing that came as a part of the kit. I'm not using it. Like the light in the room and that blue wall is sufficient for the camera. Whereas the cameras I had last year, dude, like I was grabbing that little pin and like I'm not kidding, I was making like hundreds of a megahertz choice, and like the different frequency of the blue to try and like get it to be smooth and to playing around. Like, oh dude, it was difficult. Um, and so that's really nice. And so I don't know, man. I guess like the biggest issue that I've had, and again, it's probably where I am just on the curve, it has been sound, and not knowing. Again, and some of it was, who would have thought that there'd be a short in that headphone jack, and then not being able to deal with the delay and we just figured that out, dude. That was not setting up external speakers like we did. It was not something that we was anticipated when the manual got written. Like, it just wasn't there. Maybe you wouldn't have to do that if you had a monitor that had sound, like the main TriCaster. I have no idea. You would, because HDMI has got a sound, but we're not using HDMI hook. It's some weird. The video hookup is not HDMI. It's some unusual connector that I had to order special to connect the other monitor so the anchors could see themselves. But that was seamless when I plugged that in. It just detected it. That's another thing that's been good is like the TriCaster is way better at detecting. Although I have been, for some reason, it's been easier. All that it screws up the teachers. So like, if I don't turn the cameras on first, one thing I've noticed the TriCaster is nice. Is I'll turn the TriCaster on and it immediately boots up the WBMS main session. That's nice. I used to have to like sit there and like manually click through like 3 things. However, what I realize is if I don't turn the cameras on first and then turn the TriCaster on, I will subsequent to that have to back out of the session and go back in so that it detects camera 2, because usually that's the one that I forget to turn on. And so that that's it. I mean, that's all I can think of.